Hi everyone, my name is Norman and today I want to show you how to knit the honeycomb cable stitch. The honeycomb cable is a very complex looking stitch with an amazing texture. It's a very popular pattern for aran sweaters. Surprisingly enough, it's a very easy 8-row repeat. You only need to know how to knit the knit stitch, the purl stitch and the cable stitch. So let's dive right into it. To knit the honeycomb cable stitch, you will need a cable needle. I'm usually knitting without a cable needle, so I'm going to show you both versions, but for beginners, a cable needle is probably recommended. If you look very closely at the honeycomb cable, you can see its secret. Let me show you. It's actually nothing else than a lot of 2x2 cables next to each other. Let's quickly take a look at the repeat first. You have to cast on multiples of 8 and you will begin with 2 rows in stockinette stitch followed by a row where you cable cross 4 back followed by cable cross 4 front across all stitches. So repeating all those cable crosses over and over again. Then you have 3 more rows in stockinette stitch and row number 7 is another cable cross row, just the other way around. So you start with a cable cross 4 front and followed by a cable cross 4 back. Wow. And then you have another purl row. And if you repeat all those 8 rows over and over again, you create the honeycomb stitch. So let's knit a couple of stitches together. So I'm already way into the pattern here, but if you just started, it's going to be exactly the same technique. And first we have to knit 1 row. So we knit 1 row. You probably just cast on, so you knit across all stitches after you cast on. Remember, it was cast on multiples of 8. And row number 2 is a purl row. And now we start with the first interesting row, row number 3. The repeat was cable cross 4 back and cable cross 4 front across all stitches. So what we do is we pick up our cable needle and slip the first 2 stitches onto our cable needle, keep the cable needle in the back. Then we knit 2 stitches. Remember to keep a nice tension so you don't create any visible gaps, and then we knit the 2 stitches from the cable needle, 1, 2. So we did our first cable cross, and then we are slipping the next 2 stitches onto our cable needle again. We keep the cable needle in the front and we knit 2 stitches and pick up the cable needle again and knit these 2 stitches from the cable needle. So we did our cable cross 4 back and cable cross 4 front, and you can already see what we are creating here. And the next will be a cable cross 4 back again. I'm going to quickly show you how I'm doing this without a cable needle. I think it's a bit faster and you don't need to pick up the cable needle all over again. And since you're knitting so many cables, I think it's really worth investing. The next is a cable cross 4 front again. So I'm going to keep the stitches in front. And basically you're knitting these 2 cable crosses across all stitches. Let me show you, to create the first row of your honeycomb cable. So the next 3 rows are knit in stockinette stitch. So it's a purl row followed by a knit row followed by another purl row. So row number 5 is a knit row. So you knit all stitches again. And row number 6 is another purl row, so we purl all stitches. So row number 7 is going to be the next interesting row, and this time we're cabling the other way around. So remember the last time it was cable 4 back followed by cable 4 front, and this time we're cabling starting with a cable 4 front. So pick the cable needle and slip the first 2 stitches onto your cable needle and keep the cable needle in front. Then knit the next 2 stitches, knit the next 2 stitches, and then we're knitting the 2 stitches from the cable needle. The first 2 stitches are always a bit more difficult, but then it's easy. And the next 2 stitches will be cable 4 back, so we're slipping 2 stitches, 1, 2, and keeping the cable needle in the back. Then we're knitting 2 stitches, and we're bringing the cable needle to the front again, knitting the 2 stitches on the cable needle, and we're going to repeat these 2 cable crosses over and over again. So front and back. Going to quickly show you how to knit them without the cable needle again. So I slip them back and knit 4. Again, I think it's much faster to knit without a cable needle, and the cables turn out much better as well. So row number 8 is purl across all stitches again, and that's all. That's the whole repeat. So that was our 8-row repeat. We started here, that's our 8-row repeat. From here you start with row number 1 again, so it's 1 knit row, then followed by a purl row, and then you have the cable cross section again. I really recommend you to knit this pattern with small needles. So if your yarn size, needle size is 3 or 4, 5 or 6, whatever, it's always a range, or almost always a range, and then definitely pick the lower number. Cables usually look better with smaller sizes, and you won't get this kind of, I don't know if you can see this, these kind of elevated structure if you pick too large a needle. Anyway, that's it. That's how you knit the honeycomb cable stitch. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and of course consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more from me. Happy knitting!